Good evening, everyone.
Good
I'm your
evening.
host. I'm your host Sudip Maiti, early career designer. Welcome to the Classroom to Boardroom Talk Show, episode number 9. We have gathered here to enlighten you about the different ways we can showcase the hurdles about the classroom to boardroom can easily happen, and we will discuss about the hurdles or challenges that come along the way. Take charge of your career. Also listen to the different eminent person who has excelled in their own fields. Today we have invited one of the industry's top notch who has more than 3 decades of experience in industry, currently performing a role of a managing director India in one of the leading engineering company. He is known for his leadership positions in innovations, value selling, key account management, channel and sustainability. Let me welcome Mr. Tridib Majumder in this talk show. So, welcome, Mr. Tridib, in this talk show. So, would you mind to introduce yourself, Mr. Tridib Majumdar?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sudeep, and good evening once again. As Sudeep mentioned, I am Tridib Majumder. I am the present the managing director of my company, which is Quaker Chemicals. We are in the business of process chemicals and production fluids, where we supply primarily to the metals industry, which is the steel plants or the aluminum plant. We supply to the automotive industry, which are companies like Maruti Suzuki, Tata Motors, and so on and so forth. And thirdly, we also supply to the mining industry. Um, the products that we make finally help our customers to increase the efficiency, reduce the cost of operations, and maybe increase their sustainability footprint as well.
Great,
So
great.
in terms of
Yeah,
training, I'm a mechanical engineer. I passed out from in those days they used to call REC Warangal. Nowadays, of course, they call NIT Warangal. After a few years of working, I realized that maybe that is not good enough. So I went and did my MBA or as it's called postgraduate diploma in business management from XLRI Jamshedpur, and I'm here, to speak to you.
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tridib, in this particular talk show. So, let me ask you some basic questions. So, you are excel in your career in the top level, almost in India, based on your company's position wise. How do you reach to that level, and what are the challenges you have faced so far during your this journey, and how you have overcome those challenges? If you can briefly explain to that particular things, the audience, I believe so, if they have any kind of the challenges, they can connect with you very easily.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it has been so far so good. I don't know whether I mean I don't know what the future awaits, but then yeah, so far it has been good. If I look back at my career when I first started, right, and I was one of the best guys in my class, so I thought that if you are good in your studies, you will automatically be good in your professional life. But it doesn't happen that way, in a sense that you are good in what you are, but then there are millions of people who are maybe better than you or equally good as you are. So it's very important that there are certain things that we need to do, in a sense that we have to upskill ourselves as we go on. As I gave you the example that I realized after 4 or 5 years of my work, I realized that management education is very important. So it's important that all of us upskill ourselves as we go along. It can be in technical, it can be in marketing, it can be in in management, whatever, depending upon which line you decide to go. The other thing is, which I would say is, if I were to look back more than 30 years of my experience, I think it's very important that we align ourselves with the values of the organization that we work, right? Um, and if the values of the organization match with your own personal set of values, it becomes much more easier. Because at the end of the day, the values are like the pillars. Whenever you're unsure of yourself, when you don't have an answer, the values, you can always fall back on the values to give you the answers, right? That is something that I would suggest uh, people who are hearing to us to have that. The second thing I think is very important to develop your network of contacts as well as relationships. Because, as they say, you have five fingers in your hand, and each finger is different, right? So it is the network which will help you achieve what you want to achieve. Because combinedly, the network has much more brain power, much more experience as compared to each individuals, right? Um, the third thing I think is very important, that we should have a balance. When I say balance, I worked for a long time in Shell, and they say that a person has four chapters in his life. One is, of course, his personal career goals, a career. The second thing, of course, is his own family. It can be your wife, children, or it can be even your mother, father, when you're younger, right? The third thing, of course, is own materialistic goals. I want to buy a house. I want to buy a car. And last but not the least is your own personal goal. I want to learn Spanish in 2 years' time, or I want to learn cooking, whatever. So each of us should have equal weightage in these four chapters. And if you're able to do that, you'll really do very well. Right? The other thing which I thought is that it's very important to have a mentor or a role model. Because role model, it can be anybody, depending upon what you want aspire for. You know, Based on, and then you can follow that role model, what he or she has done in his life or her life, and then try to follow it. The other thing I wanted to say is, there are three C's: the circle of concern, the circle of influence, and circle of control. Do the things that you can do very well, as if there is no tomorrow. So the circle of control, circle of influence should be very high, and circle of control should be very high. Right? Do the things whatever you are supposed to do very well. If Russia and Ukraine is fighting each other, we can't do much about it, right? If there is world hunger in Ethiopia, we can't do much about it. But then, if there is something for us to do, do it very well, right? And try to influence people who can also help you do well. So increase your circle of control and circle of influence, right? Uh, and last but not least, I think humility is very important. Because no matter how good you are, no matter how high you have reached, it takes just a matter of time to bring you down. So humility is very important. These are things that I have followed, and which helped me reach where I am today.
Great, great, great. So yeah, so each and every individual they should understand themselves, and the goal is very important. What you told, so that is the key aspects. And the third point, the key aspects you told, everyone should have that role models. They should
Yes.
follow that particular role models. Definitely,
Yes.
yeah, definitely. So it's a really very crucial points, I believe. Yeah, for each and everyone in his life journey. Yeah. So I will
The
ask
other,
you the few.
the
Yeah,
other thing,
go ahead.
other thing, Sudeep, I wanted to say is that you become good based on your experiences, right?
Yeah.
And experience is something which maybe sometime will be very successful, sometime will not be successful. But I think it's very important that we continue learning. Convert your learnings into nuggets of gold, as they say, right? And fall back on those learnings to do it better next time around. So this is also something which everybody should follow. I think I
Correct.
have gained, and maybe
No,
I'll
no,
suggest.
that's the correct things as you told. So you should be the learner throughout your life till the time you lie.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, that's the very crucial points. Which day you will stop learning, so you are gone case from the market.
yes,
You can't stand.
yeah.
Yeah. So my next query for you. So what are the four major career field do you find in the engineering? Because the engineering it's a huge field, I would say. Out of that, which four career field do you feel where the people can grow?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, engineering has. As I see, any industry will have an upstream and a downstream, right? Upstream are basically raw material and technology it brings into the industry, and then downstream are the products that are produced and sold to our customers. So if you really look at, I think there are various areas where each element of the value chain, people can make their careers. But if I were to really look at top four, at the end of the day, I've been a sales and marketing guy for a long time. So I would say sales and marketing or application engineering is one area which is very important. or which is a career people can make. The second area is that today, with so much of information flow between different parts of the world, the technological gap between competitors becoming less and less, right? So the only way where we can increase our differentiation to our customers is in supply chain. So supply chain is one area which is becoming very, very important, right? And then the other traditional areas we have, which is operations. And operations, some of the things that become very important is in terms of safety, right? So and sustainability. And last but not the least is if people who are good in designing things and designing product, designing chemical molecules or anything, for them the research and design becomes still very, very important. So four areas, I would say: supply chain, operations, R&D, and sales and marketing.
Great, great. Yeah, of course. Supply chain is today's world, so everything is depends on the demand and supply.
Yes.
So if you can follow that particular things, and if you can build your career in that particular aspects, hopefully, so yeah, so you can excel your career very quickly. I feel that. Yeah, yeah. So my next query is that if someone is wants to build his career in engineering, what are the necessary steps? Because after college pass out, so people are struggling in their career. They don't know what to do in their life. Okay,
Hmm.
those who are not selected through campus. Okay, if someone is selected through campus, also I have seen that the people after joining to the industry, they feel that that industry is not suitable for him or her. Again, they starting from the from his career journey. So what do you feel that, so what kind of the message you want to give it to those kind of the people so that they can excel their career in the engineering, and they can decide that particular things during their college days itself?
It's a very difficult question, and I don't know whether I'll be in a position to answer them. But if I were to look at, I always look at basics, and basics is thing is that I think everybody should have a goals, right? What is it that I want to become, right? I might decide to become a entrepreneur of a startup company. That is also fine. I might decide to, join some of the best companies to learn the process and systems. So that person should, try and get into a very, very system oriented company, so that after working there for a couple of years, maybe 5 years or 10 years, they can take these learnings to a smaller organization, right? Thirdly, is they might still decide that I would like to upskill as compared to engineering, which is very broad based. Maybe select an area where he or she likes a particular area, and then build more expertise in those areas by, either by doing some courses for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, right? Which will make them more, I would say, specialists in that area, and they can definitely do it. I don't see any reason. And more importantly, do whatever is you like to do, right? In the sense that you'll hear a lot of people who have got salaries of 25 lakhs, but as a starting. But then, are you capable of doing that? Please understand what you are good in, and what is your strengths, and what is the areas of development, and based on that, aspire for something, right? Maybe for you, you might still get a salary of 25 lakhs, but you may not be able to survive there because your capabilities are much lower, right? So it's very important, I would say, to set a short-term goal, which is for 1 year, a mid-term goal, which is for maybe 3 years, and then maybe a slightly long-term goal, which is more than 3 years, and then see for ourselves where I am, what I am today, and what is needed to for me to achieve this short-term goal or medium-term goal or long-term goal, and then build our capabilities accordingly. I'll give an example. So my career aim was always to lead a company, right? And I was working for a very large organization, and which was very large, I'm talking of the oil company Shell, right? uh, and unfortunately don't have they have very specific positions. Like, for example, if I were to talk about uh, marketing, maybe a brand manager, right? But nobody was there in India who will lead the brand. So there was no position for me to become the CEO or managing director. So I decided that if I have to become, I have to join a smaller company. So I decided to move to a much smaller company, but I always looked at the core values of the organization, and found out they match with my own core values, and I made a switch. So sometimes to achieve your goals, you have to take risks, but please do take calculated risk after consulting your mentor or your role model, and I'm sure you should be able to make the right decision.
Absolutely, absolutely. You are a great personality, and I feel that, yeah. So whatever the steps you are telling to the each and every individuals, I feel that so they should follow that, and they should overcome their hurdles if they want to grow in their career in engineering. Yeah, it's not only the engineering, any kind of the field, I would say. Yeah.
The other
So
thing, the other thing, maybe which I missed out is that I am reminded of Robert Frost's poem, which says the path less traveled, right? So at every point in your life, you will come across a junction, one which is travel more, where everybody goes, and one a road which is less traveled, but maybe unknown, maybe difficult. Maybe if a person who selects the path which is less traveled, he or she will be more successful. So when you join an organization, there'll be many things which people don't want to do, right? Though take up a responsibility, you own up to this to those jobs or to those roles, because the organization will start depending on you for those roles, and the person will become very, very important, right? So that is something that also people can do.
great, great. Yeah. So I'm just asking you one question. So mostly, as per my knowledge and all, so the engineering field. So I couldn't find the few very less women. Okay. Do you think that engineering is a growing field for the women?
Yes, it is.
What do you think?
And
Yeah.
specifically, if you were to look at sustainability today, and if I take my own
Yeah.
organization, one of
Yeah.
the pillars of sustainability is empowering our employees and societies we work for, right? And then the diversity is becoming very important. Embracing diversity is becoming very important. And today, each organization, whether it's my organization or for that matter any other organization, is trying to promote diversity. For example, in my organization, they are saying that by the year 2030 we should have 25% of our people as lady colleagues. Today we are at only 6%, and we are in the year 2022. So between now and 2030, we have to increase the diversity by 25%, by 6% to 25%. That means another more than 20%, right? So the girls or ladies will find great opportunities in the days to come, specifically in the engineering field as well.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's for the each and every industry they are looking for now the women empowerment. I could
Yes,
observe that nowadays,
yes,
and it's a
yes,
trend, I believe, and
yes,
it's a giving a goal to the each and every the top leader of the organizations. They have to increase that particular the things. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Unfortunately, Sudeep, I have failed in a sense that I wanted to get a business manager who will be a lady, but I had tried for 3 months. I used my networks and IM and XLRI as well as other people. I didn't succeed. So finally, I had to, hire a male candidate. But as I said,
Okay,
if we, it is a great golden opportunity for ladies or girls to be in engineering.
correct, correct, correct. Yeah. So you just tell me one thing. So what is the future of the industrial engineering from today? What you can see yourself in the industrial engineering growth and all?
You're talking of
And
India, or talking? You're talking of India, I would say, right?
I'm talking about the India as of now. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So if you really look at India, if we take the last 15 or 20 years, right, post 2000, right, we have not really grown in manufacturing. We have primarily, if you look at, we have grown in IT enabled services or in the financial sector. And even today, if you see our contribution of industry or manufacturing to the overall GDP is much lower as compared to the other two areas you mentioned. Primarily, reason why was that the world was moving to, I would say, lower production costs, and China provided an opportunity, right? But with the COVID, which happened in 2020, we realized, the world realized that if we depend or if you put our eggs in one basket, which is China, it is really a risky proposition, right? So they would look at other opportunities, other countries which can provide manufacturing avenues, and I see India as a great opportunity. And also what the direction which our honorable Prime Minister says, make in India. It didn't happen so well in over the last, say, 5 to 7 years, but I would say in the next 5 years is going to become very a big way in India, right? And if I then come back to your question about industrial engineering, right? So I'm a mechanical engineer, right? And mechanical in our days, there was nothing called industrial engineering. It was a part of mechanical engineering, and people used to go for masters in industrial engineering, right? Today, industrial engineering is a subject of its own. And if I see mechanical engineering, there are two parts. One is the design piece, which is behind the machine or behind the equipment or behind the engine. And there is the other piece, which is in front of the equipment, which is using the equipment. Industrial engineering is the second part, right? How can you optimize the equipment? How can you ensure that the equipment gives us the maximum production, maximum efficiency? And that's where industrial engineering comes in. So as our country becomes more manufacturing base in the next 5 years, 10 years, I see industrial engineering to be growing as it has grown in Europe or the US.
Good, good. Yeah, yeah. And which sector do you feel that it will be growing in the next 5 years in India? Out of this, the manufacturing industry, or might
Yeah.
be the
So
engineering industry. Yeah.
yeah. So one is if I were to talk about the metals, right? So metals, when I say steel, we produce about 110 or 112 million tons of steel today. But they say India is at the cusp of production of steel, and by the year 2030, the plan is to make 300 million tons of steel. That means almost more than double what we are making. So because our consumption of steel per capita is very very low, right? So that's if we have to become a developed country, steel is one sector which will grow, right? Steel and aluminum. The second is the car industry, because again, I will say automotive industry, because the per capita use of cars or motorcycles in India is very less as compared to the world. So these are two industries which I think will grow a lot in the next, say, 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
other one is I wouldn't say other one is the construction sector. When I say construction, as we increase our infrastructure, build up our infrastructure, so construction of roads, bridges, dams, everything is going to increase.
Okay. Okay. So, in terms of the salary, if someone pass out from the college and they enter to the industry, okay, the engineering industry, whatever the salary structures as of now, so people are getting, because the few years back, I could see that the people is to jump into the IT industry more because of the salary, as well as the, I could see that on-site opportunity. And that time, so I feel that this the core industry, the engineering industry, uh, they're not getting the proper the brain for their organizations. There is a lot of scarcity. What do you think is the today's scenario, whether they have at par the IT industry salary structures they have made in their salary, or far better than that? What do you feel that, so that the people will be the more interested to grow into that particular industry, and they can jump into those area then in future? What do you think?
Yeah, so as I said, in the last 20 years, the growth in India, if you see a business, has been primarily in the IT or IT sector, right? Because of IT exports and so on and so forth. Uh, and obviously, they got the talent who joined them had higher salaries compared to other engineering streams, right? But as I said, that is primarily because in India, manufacturing as a or industrialization has not kept pace with the increase in growth of IT industry, right? Which is going to change. So maybe after say 4 or 5 years, we might see a rationalization of salaries in IT sector as well as the manufacturing sector. But I agree with you that today, if a person joins in the manufacturer or industrial sector, maybe I don't know for what would be the minimum, but then maybe it will be in a range of 5 to 10 lakhs maximum. I'm talking of the core engineering sector, not the IT sector.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good. Yep. So I'll ask the audience. So if you have any particular query or anything related to the engineering industry, you can ask me, and you can drop your comments here in the comment box so that we can clarify with Mr. Tridib Majumder, who is in the industry for last 3 decades, and he is a managing director for one of the chemical company. So you can ask your query. So if you have any query, yeah. So let me ask you the few more questions. It's came in my mind, so I thought, okay. So yeah, so there is like a highest salary, as I know. So what is the lowest paid engineering field in the current moment? What do you feel? Because if you can light on that particular area, so that the people will be aware. Okay, this is the area. So where we should not jump into it immediately after college pass out, although maybe the in future they may jump into, because the after getting some experience from the other industry they may jump into. But
Hmm.
what do your suggestions to them?
No, yeah, you're talking about what would be the minimum salary in the Indian industry today. That's what you're asking,
Correct,
right?
correct, 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 correct.
Yeah. So as I said, I should. I think it should be the minimum should be close to around 5 lakhs a year. That's something that
Okay,
I think. I'm not exact. It might not still be around 5 lakhs per year, but then 4.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs should be something that they can think of.
okay, okay. Yeah. As you told, that in terms of the growth sector in India, so there is the aluminiums as well as the automotive. These are the two sectors. So what are the growth sector in India?
No, no,
Correct.
no. Sorry. So no, I mentioned metals, which is aluminum, which is steel and aluminum. The second I said
Okay.
automotive, and third I said
Okay.
is infrastructure.
Okay. 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 So, so what do you find this automobile industry today's in the next generation in India? The automobile industry, I could see this. The Maruti is the one of the leading automobile sector in India, as well as
Yes,
the I could see this Hyundai is the second largest, I believe, in
yes.
India in terms of the automobile sectors. What do you feel? So in the growth in the automobile industry in India, in the next future, maybe the 10 years down the line.
No, no, no. Just to maybe correct you, the second brand or second or corporate which is second in automotive industry in India or car making in India is actually Tata Motors. It has overtaken
Okay.
Hyundai. Maruti, of
Okay.
course, is number
Okay.
one.
Okay.
See, there's a lot of talk in elsewhere in the world, China or or in Europe, about electrification of cars, EVs, right? But
Yeah.
I don't see EV making a big way in India in the next, say, 10 years. Reason is that the infrastructure in India is not yet ready for mass scale electrification, right? So, if you really look at, I heard Nitin Gadkari speaking as well. He's taking up three segments in the automotive industry. One is the transportation, which is trucks, big trucks carrying things from, say, Delhi to Chennai or from Mumbai to Calcutta or Kolkata. It's Indian road. They travel very long distances, and reliability becomes very important, right? So if you have a truck carrying goods from Mumbai, and the battery or the energy, it gets exhausted, say in Nagpur, the product is not going to reach to Calcutta on time. So for reliability measure, I think what is going to happen to India is that we'll get blended fuels, 10% ethanol, 15% ethanol, blended fuels, right? The second category of transportation or automotive is the city bus service, right? This city bus service will become 100% electrified in the next, say, 1 or 2 years, primarily because a city bus can return back to a depot in the night, and the battery can get charged for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, right? Uh, as well as it can reduce the pollution which is there in the cities, right? A third area is the personal mobility, which you and I require, a car or a motorcycle. The motorcycle as well as the scooters will become electrified in the next more in the next 1 year, right? But if you look at the cars, they'll be more hybrids. When I say hybrid, it runs on it runs an engine for half an hour, and then another half an hour it turns into battery, and so on and so forth, right? So this is the how the Indian automotive industry is going to look like in the next, say, 10 years, right? And it is just going to grow. India will become the today India is the fifth largest producing country in the world. In the next, say, by 2025 or 26, it should become the third largest company, car making company in the world.
Okay. Okay. So one of our audience, so he has asked me the questions here. Why the salary in engineering industry is far less than IT sectors?
Yeah,
And
I feel it's
yeah,
disproportionate. Yes, Varadarajan, yes, you're right. But as I mentioned earlier, that if you really look at the last 20 years, the industry which has grown in India is the IT sector, right? Because of exports, because of the brain power that we provide to other parts of the world, and these companies get paid more as for their services, because, so like for example, a TCS or Infosys, they get paid more as compared to a car making company like Maruti Suzuki, right? But as I said, as India braces up more towards manufacturing, as we see in the next, say, 5 years, right? As more companies make India as a base for manufacturing, this disparity is going to become lesser and lesser, right? So at the end of the day, the organization that you're working for should be able to pay you that much money, right? So an IT company like TCS or Infosys can pay more as compared to maybe a TVS or Ashok Leyland or Maruti Suzuki. So that's the reason why this disproportionate difference in salaries between IT sector and engineering industry. But I see, as I said, the next 5 or 6 years, this is going to become lesser and lesser. I
okay.
hope I have been able to answer your question, Mr. Vadarajan.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the questions only I have received so far from the audience. Yeah. Yeah. So last but not the least questions I'll be asking you. So what are the key message you want to give to the audience? So if they want to excel their career in engineering industry. Yeah. Bharadarajan is okay with that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Dropped a message. Yeah. What last
Um,
message you want to give to the audience? Yeah.
yes. So if I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if we have an opportunity to choose, say we get, say, a number of options. One, a small organization where maybe you can make a difference, and a larger organization where it's a huge organization but which has more systems and processes in place. And if you have the option of making a choice, go to the organization which is bigger and which has more systems and processes, and learn those systems and processes. And then after a period of, say, 10 years or 12 years, when you are more experienced, and then go to a smaller organization where you'll be able to use these learnings, because then you will be valued more and you get more salary. Today, if you join a smaller organization, the smaller organization doesn't have systems and processes, and you might struggle because you're also fresh from a college or fresh from engineering institute, right? So that is one thing. And as I mentioned, have your goals set in the sense that short term, medium term, and long term, and then plan accordingly. And third, but most important is, I think you should have a role model. Everybody should have a role model. For example, if you were to look at me, and if I can share myself, my role model has been Amitabh Bachchan, not because of the fact that he is a great actor, but if you really look at him, he is more than 75 years old today, but he's as marketable as he was before. The main reason why he is so is because he has changed himself with the times, right? And secondly, if you were to look at him as a father, I'm sure many of us would like a father like him, right? In a sense that who is still working, who is still marketable, who is still, is darling of the crowds, right? If you see him as a grandfather or as a father-in-law, he's again one of the ideals, right? Then one of the biggest things in India is that we, as people from middle class or people, is that we are expected to take care of our parents when they grow old, right? And if you see Amitabh Bachchan, though his other brother left his parents, till their death, he took care of his parents, right? So these are some of the reasons why I consider him as my role model, and anybody can have any other role model. And the most important thing, which I, as I say, mention, is that he has changed over the times, and that's why he's so marketable. Anybody who doesn't change with his times, will not survive. So it doesn't matter. Anybody can have anybody else as their role model, but it's very important to have your role model and follow the role model. These are some of the things I would suggest to people who are hearing, so that they are successful in life.
Thank you, Mr. Majumdar, for your time. Yeah. So we are closing this particular show today. Thank you. Thanks everyone, those who are listening to us. So if you have any specific query, you can do one thing. You can drop a message. So you can find me in LinkedIn. You can find me in YouTube. You can find me in Facebook. You can drop a message. We can clarify your query related to the engineering industry with Mr. Majumdar, and we'll get back to you. Thank you. Have a good day. Good night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadiq.
Thank you.